On episode 230 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we talk about the essentials of weight loss. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/230. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast today. I wanted to start, though, to talk about an email I actually got from one of the clients I have at Shorefyre Results. She went through the program, lost 8 pounds, and she's continued to kind of go along that path, actually pushing a little bit harder, and has lost an additional 7 pounds. Now think about how you will feel if you've lost 15 pounds over the course of the next 2 months. I think that's amazing for her. I'm really proud of what she's accomplished going through the program, following the principles. We're going to talk about weight loss today, but if weight loss is one of the things that you're really struggling with, I really would like to encourage you to check out Shorefyre Results for weight loss. It's a great program, very simple. I'm there to walk you through, there to answer your questions. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Shorefyre and check it out today. The topic of weight loss is the subject of thousands and thousands of books. So, it's kind of hard in a podcast to kind of decide exactly how deep we should go on this topic, but I decided that it really should probably go a little bit deeper. So if this podcast runs a little long, my apologies, but I wanted to make sure that it really kind of touched on some major elements that you should consider as you go through a weight loss program. So if I get a little wordy, sorry about that, but I wanted to make sure that I shared with you a lot of the ideas that I have around weight loss and how you can be much more effective in your weight loss journey. The first thing I have to say is it takes a lot more than deciding. I was 37 years old when I decided that I needed to start focusing on my health and fitness, but it wasn't until I was around 45 that things sort of clicked. And what I mean by that is I wanted to do it, I had decided to do it, but I had not committed to do it. So without that commitment, I really didn't have a driver to keep my behavior on task. And so, motivation waned when it came to going to the gym. Willpower waned when I was presented with certain foods or, drinks or seasons or whatnot. And so it just became a yo-yo series for me over the course of the next several years until I finally figured out what was the missing element. And for me, it was that commitment. Now, when you're going to make a commitment to yourself to lose weight or to do anything, you really have to have a compelling why. If it's just to look a little better, probably not going to be very compelling. If it's about your health and about being around for the people that you care about, that's going to be a much more compelling emotional why. So I would spend some time really kind of searching your soul and figuring out what are the things that are important to you. What do you want to be around for? And really focus on making sure that you are looking at that why and making that a big part of the driver for this journey. And each time you kind of feel the willpower starting to slide or you just aren't as motivated, pull out that why, get that out, sit down. I actually write out a vow with many of my clients to say, if you'll take the time to write a vow, you'll actually have a document. You'll actually have words that you've said and words that you can go back to when you find yourself struggling. Okay. The next thing is a little bit about patience and just kind of understanding the process. You need to be realistic with your expectations. So many people will come and say, well, I need to lose 60 pounds in the next 2 months. And while it's possible to lose 60 pounds in 2 months, it's not a healthy way to go about doing it. And it's probably not sustainable in the long run. You're going to do more damage to yourself than the benefit. So a realistic expectation, I think, kind of the rule of thumb that people throw around there is that you can lose roughly about 1 to 2 pounds per week over time. Now, when you start thinking about that, if you wanted to lose 60 pounds, that's going to take you over a year. It's just plain and simple going to take you roughly about a year to lose 60 pounds in a healthy way. And the 50, 60 pounds I lost over 11 months. So, if you have these good, solid expectations for what's possible, you can work your way through it. Okay. The next one is don't let you stop you. Many times we kind of have this self-defeatist mindset that, bad things are going to happen, or this is going to go on, or that's going to go on. I've tried it before, and then I get to this point, and then it all falls apart. You have to really start focusing on the reasons why you are the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. But what you want to understand is, are there certain things about your behavior where you begin to kind of sabotage yourself? I've seen it with some of my clients. They start to see results. They get a little nervous. They're not used to the attention, and they go back and start binge eating or doing some emotional eating. So not understanding your own state and why you do the things you do, the habits that you have and how those are managed, all of those are going to come into play. The art of weight loss is a mindset game. It is not a physical game. This is not you over food. This is not you over movement. This is literally you over you. So don't let you stop you. You really have to make this a journey of self-discovery. That's why I usually encourage my clients to keep a journal so you can write down your sleep, how you're feeling, your emotional state, all those different things that drive your behavior unconsciously. And as you start to discover them, you start to spend more time paying attention to them, you can start to recognize the traps that you might find yourself in from time to time and be able to actually avoid getting into those same traps. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about, though, is weight loss is never a straight line. There are going to be plateaus. There are going to be periods of time when you just do great. And particularly that's at the beginning. That's why it's fun to work with a client the first few weeks. When you teach them a few basic, simple things, they implement those in their lives, and all of a sudden, boom, the weight's starting to come off. And the client's feeling really good about it. And since they lost 5 pounds that first week, they now are taking that same 5 pounds, or they're looking at the numbers on MyFitnessPal, and it says, if you keep doing this for 5 weeks, you're going to lose X amount of weight. That's a straight line formula, and it's typically false. There are going to be plateaus. There are so many chemical reactions and things going on in your body that we couldn't even begin to understand. Scientists are just now scratching the surface on some of them. So we know that hormones, we know that sleep, we know that stress, we know that all the different things that are going on, inflammation, toxins, all that other stuff is causing differences and adjustments inside your body that is not just about what you're eating and how much you're eating. It really is just a function of chemistry, of biochemistry. And your body's just not going to let you just drop weight. It wants homeostasis. It wants to protect itself. And if it starts losing weight to what it feels too quickly, it'll do some things to adjust to it. So that adjustment is then something you need to rethink. As I went through my weight loss journey, I started out on a paleo plan. Now, the advantage of a paleo plan for me was it cleaned up my eating. It got me off of sugar, and it kind of got me in a state where I wasn't as inflamed. And, my body was reacting very well to that. I was working out and things were going pretty well. After I lost about 25 pounds, I kind of just stabilized. And for about 2 or 3 months, just flatlined. Didn't lose any more, didn't gain any more, just stayed right there. I was working just as hard, doing everything that had worked. It just wasn't working the way it was. So I started experimenting with ketosis and intermittent fasting, and I dropped an additional 25, 30 pounds. So as you kind of get into this process, just recognize that it's not going to be in a straight line, and you have to approach it each time as a different problem and give it another shot and try something a little different and tweak things and learn. When you know you're on course, just stay on course. Just because you've plateaued does not mean you're failing. It just means that you need either some patience to wait through the plateau, or you may need to make some tweaks. There are many, many paths. I've talked about ketosis. I've talked about intermittent fasting. I've talked about paleo. I've talked about a lot of different things on the podcast. You have to find the path that works best for you. And, just as you'll see, there are plenty of folks that eat paleo that are actually overweight. There are plenty of vegetarians that are overweight. So it's not that one plan is going to be the magic bullet that works specifically for you. You're going to have to figure out the things that work for you and then apply them diligently over time with patience to see that it works. So just because it worked for someone else, they went on, they took that Nutrisystem and it worked. They took the Jenny Craig and it worked. That's great. And you try it and it just doesn't quite work for you. I get it. When I tried Nutrisystem, I could tell you, again, during that 8-year period of time, 7-8 year period of time when I had decided, but I had not committed, I tried Nutrisystem, and I can tell you it was just not enough food to get me through the day, and I was starving all the time, every single day, starving. And I suffered through that for a whole month at one time and just said, okay, not again. I paid all that money for that food. I was going to eat it, by God, but I ate every bit of it, and I lost some weight, but I was miserable. And just know that that was not the path for me. It's worked for others. It may or may not work for you. So just recognize you need to try the different paths. You need to try the different things. Find a guide that you trust and work with them. And they will help you stay on task. They'll help you stay on track. But just realize your path may be very different than someone else's. Number 7 I have on here, don't forget to have fun. So many times we think we have to deprive ourselves of everything, and we have to be kind of these diligent little soldiers, getting up, going to the gym and running on the treadmill, and then eating a very little bit of food, and making sure we're drinking our water, and making sure we're taking our vitamins, and doing all the different diligent things we're supposed to do, because that's what we're supposed to do, that we just suck all the fun out of life. The reality is food is meant to be enjoyable. We have taste buds. We enjoy the food. Take your time and spend some time with folks. Make your events when you're doing something good for yourself from an exercise perspective. Do it with other people. Don't feel like you have to lock yourself in this world of weight loss all by yourself and not enjoy yourself. You still have a life if you're trying to lose the weight, and it's going to take you a little bit of time. Still do things that you enjoy. Take a weekend and say, okay, I'm going to have a couple beers with my buddies, but it's 2 beers and I'm done. And I'm going to eat before I go out, so I won't be eating the crap at the Buffalo Wild Wings. I'll just go ahead and have a couple beers, spend some time with them, watch a football game. I'll make sure to drink a large glass of water in between each beer. That'll slow me down and we'll be good. So just recognize that you still need to enjoy the life that you have while you're going through this process. Next, I want to say not all weight loss is good. So many people are like, I need to lose weight. The scale's not moving. I need to lose weight. Well, there are ways that you can lose weight that are not good ways. A lot of the diet pills that are out there, they're basically diuretics. And all that's going to do is push water out of your system. And that's not good weight loss. That, yes, it is weight loss because that water is not in your system anymore, but you need that water for body function. So as soon as you stop taking those diuretics, that weight's going to come right back on because your body's going to absorb the water it needs and put it where it needs it. So just recognizing that not all weight loss is good. Being afraid to lift weights because you're afraid that it's going to stall your weight loss is one of the silliest arguments that I've ever heard, but I hear it all the time. They're so concerned about their weight that they're thinking, I don't want to put on any muscle because I'll gain weight. And to me, given that we're going to lose muscle mass over our lives, we're going to be these old, decrepit people if we don't take care of ourselves. It's just crazy that people are so locked on weight loss over general health. What you want is really fat loss. And I've had a really hard time having the dialogue with people. I would have loved to have named this episode about fat loss and not weight loss, but no one searches for fat loss. Everybody searches for weight loss. Everybody talks about weight loss. But just recognize that not all weight loss is good weight loss. You want to make sure that you're losing fat, not muscle, and not water. The next one is there are no shortcuts. So this kind of ties in a little bit with number 3 that I had on there about being realistic. But just recognize that there really are no shortcuts. There are pills and potions and wraps and all kinds of creams and all kinds of stuff out there. I see it every day. It's amazing to me that we all want that magic pill, and so few people recognize that there just really isn't one, and there won't ever really be one. For the longest time, I had Ally. I don't know if you remember this supplement, but it basically was a pill that absorbed the fat in your meal. So you take this with your meal, and it would kind of take the fat, keep you from absorbing it, and then you would basically, when you went to the bathroom, that fat would come out. And so it had some side effects like a loose stool, but it was a very greasy stool, absolutely, because what it was doing was pulling the fat out of your food. Well, you need those fats. Your brain is made of fat, your cells are made of fat, and without the whole good fats that you're eating, your body doesn't have the resources it needs to rebuild properly. So it really is kind of a sad, sad way to do this. I don't know that it's still on the market. I kind of hope they've pulled it because, again, that's not the right approach. Yes, it reduces your overall calories. You eat the food, but you're not absorbing it. That sounds awesome, but the reality is you're not getting the nutrition you need either. So just realize there are no shortcuts. And anyone that says there's shortcuts, like take this little metabolism stimulant, and you're like, okay, you're just jittery for the rest of the day. All you've really done is probably done something to hurt your heart. The ephedra FinFam thing that they had going on years ago. The people were losing weight, but then their hearts were giving out. So just recognize that there are no real shortcuts. And so just avoid those things. Stick to just natural, healthy living, lifestyle changes. And that's how you're really going to get the benefit of weight loss. Okay? It takes a village. And I know I'm taking that from Hillary Clinton's book, title. But, the reality of this is you're not in this alone. 67% of Western cultures, the United States, Canada, parts of Europe, Australia, we're all overweight or obese. And, if there's that many of us out there, you've got plenty of opportunities to find friends that can be of like mind and help you along with your journey. Having people that will hold you accountable, joining a Facebook group on this, all those different things are ways for you to have this in front of you, to have people that care about you, to answer your questions, to be there when you struggle, to be there when you succeed. All of those are very important aspects of this journey, is that you don't have to go on it all by yourself. You have an opportunity to have people with you that will help you be successful. And you should take advantage of that in every way that you can that makes sense for you. Next, I want to talk about forgetting the past and start thinking about tomorrow. Okay? We've gotten where we've gotten. We're overweight and we're kind of unhappy about it. There's no sense beating ourselves up about it at this point. It is what it is. We cannot go back and change that. We can't uneat the Krispy Kreme donut. It was there. We ate it. We got to own it. But now it's time for us to move on. We can't keep punishing ourselves for the mistakes that we've made in the past. We really need to focus on what we can do to better ourselves for tomorrow. And so that's positive action steps each and every day, moving us in that new direction. It's not about where we are or how we got here. Those are great lessons learned. Can't eat the Krispy Kremes. They're just not going to work for me, particularly as I get older. So now I need to move on that new path and not worry so much about what I've done in the past. With weight loss, and I can't stress this enough, this is probably one of the most important points in this whole session here, is it's really about hormones. Hormones drive every single action in your body. And if you don't manage your hormones, then you're not going to be as successful as you need to be. That's why I'm a big opponent to sugar. I think sugar, because it elevates your insulin, and any kind of simple carb or anything else that elevates your insulin levels is not going to allow you to continue to lose fat. If you have stress in your life and you have a ton of cortisol, you're not going to be successful at losing fat. If you're not sleeping well and you're not getting regulation of your hormones, you're not going to be as successful losing fat. If you're not managing your sex hormones, so your testosterone's low for men, your estrogens are off and whatnot, progesterone's off for women, you're just not going to be as successful at losing weight as you'd like to be. So making sure that you're doing the right things for your hormones is going to be one of the keys to kind of making sure that you're doing this right. So understanding your hormone levels, one of the things that I do regularly is I go get a blood test. I actually scheduled one for later this month. So I'll be going out and getting a blood test. I'll be testing my testosterone, my esters. I'll be testing my thyroid. I'll be testing my cortisol. So a lot of those hormones that I can test, and my blood sugar, A1C, and all that. So I'm going to come away with a really good understanding of how the last 3 months of my life, how I've been managing myself and seeing if I'm maintaining the hormone levels that I need to remain healthy and fit. And so if you're managing your hormone levels properly, you'll start to see that benefit. And that's going to give you kind of all the tools, all the energy, all the things that you need to lose that fat properly. Okay. The next is common sense goes a long way. And, a lot of the things that I've talked about so far today, they've all been about common sense stuff, really. You can't have the Krispy Kreme. You can't focus on yesterday. It's going to take some time to lose the weight. All of those are just common sense elements to this process. And so don't let just the whole, I did a good workout, therefore I can have a donut, that mindset, that's not common sense. That's just you justifying something to you or someone else justifying something to themselves. Just use common sense and understand, I worked really hard. I don't want to lose that. I made an investment and I don't want to lose that investment. It's kind of like, if you put $100 in the bank and say, well, I got $100 in the bank, I guess I'll go buy this $200 purse. Well, you just blew it, because now you don't have that $100 in the bank. You now have an extra $100 of credit card debt that you don't have the $100 to pay off. So recognize that this is kind of that same mindset of you have to use common sense, and not just because you did the work, you feel like you need a reward. Reward yourself with something other than food. Reward yourself with a trip. Reward yourself with a new dress. Those are the types of rewards that, have value. You can keep, you can remember. You'll have the memories, or you'll have the actual dress. Those are things that are good. The Krispy Kreme that you reward yourself with, you're going to have it, but you're going to have it in a way that you don't really want to have it after you've eaten it. So I'd say just use common sense, because that's going to go a long way on this journey. If something sounds wrong for you, it probably is wrong for you. So just, use some common sense. Realize a lot of people are throwing stuff out there. Get on this little swivel board and you're going to lose all this weight. Well, maybe, but that's a whole lot of swiveling for me to lose 50 pounds I want to lose, right? So just realize that there's a lot of common sense that comes to this stuff. When you have a win, and this is, again, goes back kind of the journaling thing, is when you have a win in your life, document it. Keep that register of wins, Maybe you lost an inch off your waist. You might not have lost any weight, but you lost an inch off your waist. Write that down. Keep that in your register. So if something goes on, the next day you step on the scale and you weigh a pound more, remeasure your waist. If your waist is still small, you've got that win. That win didn't go away. So use your wins to kind of fuel you through the tough times. So maybe, you've plateaued for, the last month, but your measurements are actually still kind of going down, or at least staying stable. So at least you're staying in good stead. You're not losing any of this fitness, any of this weight loss. You actually are in pretty good shape overall. So use the wins as kind of that mechanism for getting through some of the low times, the tough times. Okay, I said this a minute ago about like the Krispy Kreme thing, but I'm going to be very clear with this. We're over 40 years old. And the days of us being able to out-exercise what we eat are over. You are not going to out-exercise a bad diet. I don't care how hard you push yourself. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to see the results you deserve if you just rely on exercise for your weight loss. And so I really do think that you want to focus on the food first, and then use exercise as a means of escalating that, but use exercise as a way of finding and getting things into your life that you enjoy. So if you enjoy playing tennis, by all means, get out and play tennis. If you want to lift weights because you want to have a little bit more muscularity and you want to look lean and strong, lift weights. Find those things that are going to drive you to keep you going, and use those exercises for those fitness modalities. And then don't worry about the food. The food is how you're going to lose the weight. So focus on the weight loss through the food, and just realize you're not going to be able to exercise out of a bad diet. And so fix your food first. And then finally is, while you do have to blaze your own path, just realize that there are a lot of people out there that are succeeding. They're doing a great job, and it's worth listening to how they did it. I have a lot of guests on here that have lost weight. Many times I have writers that I've had on authors that I've had on that also went through their weight loss journey. Kind of look through their journey and pick the things out of their journey that you think would help you be more successful, and implement those in your lives. That's why I like to share my story of how I got here, because I think it's an opportunity for someone else to see that it was not mainstream. I mean, obviously, paleo is becoming more and more mainstream. Ketosis, not quite so much yet, but it's getting there. These are concepts that I implemented in my life that may or may not work for you, but I can tell you the prime element of reducing your sugar and drinking more water will. So that's kind of the stages that I kind of go through, and I was brainstorming, what are the essentials? What are the things that if I had to tell you everything I know about weight loss, but I wanted to do it in a single podcast without just really going on for hours and hours, what are the essential things? What are the things that you most need to know about weight loss? And those are the items that I had. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you're able to implement those in your life. I know you know somebody who would benefit from this episode, so I want you to do them a favor and do me a favor. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/230. Copy that link and post it to your Facebook page. Share it with the people that you know would benefit from it because they need this just like you need this, just like I needed this. So please, 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/230 and post that to your Facebook and Twitter. Thank you. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet Joanna Grazilli and discuss her book, Big Miracles. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.